So like I said, when I started this podcast, I wanted to make a segment about fathers and just talk about the importance of being one. And like I say, my son's 10, my daughter's 4, so over the last 10 years, it was a lot to learn from me, right? The importance of just being there. Like, that's all that matters, right? Like, it don't matter about the money you spend. It don't matter about how hard you work to give and provide, but it also just matters about just being available when you need to be available. But while I worked a lot over the last 10 years as far as providing, I always wanted to make sure that I was available, right? No matter what it was. I never wanted to sacrifice the time of my kids for work or the time of my kids for money or the time of anything over my kids. So I remember going back to when my son was born, I was so excited. We was about to host a fight party right after the baby shower. And I went on a spending spree. I was so excited about just the perspective of becoming a father. Because I didn't even understand the levels of excitement that goes into just the beginning process of being a dad. From the sleepless nights to being up all night with your child, him or she just looking you in your face and just staring at you, and you're like, please spend a lot, right? From spending tons of money to going, just being there and being available, right? Because that's what all that matters. I'll tell you this, man. And then I also applaud the single moms, because there are a lot of them that's out here just doing the tasks of the mother and the tasks of the father. And that's not to go with, you don't want to understate that, because it's a battle, especially as a father. The son, especially as a son, the father is needed for growth, to mentor, to provide knowledge, to just show them the man perspective of things and not just solely the female perspective. So when a father decides that he doesn't want to be involved, and that's all that matters, just being there. And yeah, it's expensive to raise kids, but at the same token, if you don't got it, just be there. Because I know now that there is personally that decided that because things didn't work out with the mother, that they just didn't want to be involved. And when you look around the world at all the fathers who chose to just be there, you can look at this, son, look how they turned out versus the fatherless homes. And that's why I don't make excuses, right? I think it's a powerful thing, right? It's called reading the room, right? When you establish that leadership role as the father, your job is to be there when they about to make a dumb decision, whether it's doing things they shouldn't be doing, being negative, being rebellious, because they do that. Even the father homes, you have a rebellious child, because my son's rebellious every now and then. He don't like hearing my mouth, but I used to When I started thinking about some of the things that he do, I can remember very clearly some of the fussing my grandmother used to do to me, not wanting to keep my room clean and all that extra stuff. So I show him grace as much as possible while telling him the importance of just keeping his room clean, because if he doesn't sleep in the room, so the room should never be dirty. The difference between me and him is I actually slept in my room. He doesn't sleep in his room, so I'm it's like a man cave for him, but it shouldn't be dirty. But then I always go back to thinking about my situation growing up and how I consistently had to hear from my grandmother about washing my own clothes. I was forced to become, I guess, a man faster than I should have. Early on, right, because I just was relying on my grandmother, there was a lot of times where we I couldn't necessarily go to your finest stores and get the best clothes. So a lot of the clothes that I got coming up were hand-me-downs from the thrift store, right? So, and I don't regret that because, you got to do what you got to do. I never made an excuse. I never acted out because of that situation. I just wanted to make sure I got out and hustled when I could. So, like, growing up, there was times where I had to go out and wash cars to keep money in my pocket, wash and fold at the local laundromat. I didn't want to, I understood early the importance of being responsible, and she instilled that in me. So slowly but surely, my kids are lucky to not have to go through some of those things because you got both parents in the house. But see, I had got past the mom, the father, and now I'm at the grandmother. So there wasn't really too much love coming from her husband. It was more so my dependence on just her. And she did the best that she possibly can. But one of the things she instilled in me is responsibility. The Lord. So my grandmother is my mother and my father. And let me tell you something, man. You need if you a single mom, don't be a weak one. And don't also make excuses and start allowing the streets to raise your kids. Because that's another thing I'm seeing there in this generation. These kids are all about woe is me. And that's why I think it's really imperative that some of these fathers really step up, because you have a lot of them, man, that just rely on the streets to do the job of parenting. And that's crazy as hell, man. But as I scroll social media, man, I really enjoy seeing how these fathers interact with their kids, whether they spoiling them. See, while I spoil them, I try to also make sure I'm spoiling my kids with knowledge, right? Especially my son, because he's getting up there, he's 10 now, constantly just reminding them how cruel the world can be. And then how cruel the school can be, man. Like these last 2 years for kids, right? As far as the last 2 years of the educational process has been difficult because kids have spent a lot of time like really just sitting back in front of a computer. And that's their only means of interaction. So now going back into the school, you see a little bit of the dysfunction early on. And then as things were starting to level out, kids started getting back into a routine. And that's sweet. And I enjoy that. And I also enjoy, like, when I drop my kids off at school, especially watching my son interact with his friends, right? And I'm thinking about, like, man, look, that how important that is. And I remember when we were getting back right at the beginning where masks was so super important for everybody. And a lot of the concerns that we had going back to school. And, but then as I drop them off day in and day out, because that's a job in itself, the drop off and the pickup, getting up super early, especially for me because I work late. So sleeping is important for my mood, right? And I want to make sure I'm never taking those things out on people, right? But like I swear, you cannot replace time, man. Time is super important.
Your love is rated X. That means you're extra.